I'm here to talk about Dim Mak, the art of death point striking. I'm going to be discussing the Western view on the art.
Okay, stomach 9 is the carotid sinus, which is in the carotid artery at the exact location that Leigh gave. In Western medicine, we use this into the vagus nerve here. They take a signal to the cardiac inhibitory center at the front of the brain.
When you see on YouTube videos or read in books, etc., that you can strike someone at a certain point and it will cause them to knock out. We call these sitting duck techniques, where the instructor brings up a student to the front, to the stage, or in the dojo, wherever the class is being held, and he'll simply get him to stand there without putting up any guard, no attack, no defense, nothing. He just stands there relaxed. Then the instructor strikes the student across the neck, usually to stomach 9, and the student passes out. Now, although this is not fake, this is real, it's actually happening, the person does actually pass out. The point here is there's nothing special about that. There is no special skill in being able to do that. Generally speaking, I could take any person and have them knock someone out with one strike with 5 minutes of training. So that's not a skill, that's not a special skill you want to be trained in. The real skill of Dim Mak is being able to use it in a real fighting situation. Taking your movement and putting Dim Mak into it as part of your subconscious reflexive action. Dim Mak is useless to just think, oh, I can hit this point and cause a knockout. When he's attacking you, it's not going to work like that. A, because when somebody attacks you, they have aggression coming forward, they have rage coming forward. So their body is going to be much more protected than if they just sat there completely relaxed. Hard as you can, swing it. Again. Come on. You see? Now that punch was about 3 times harder than the first punch, but it didn't cause any effect because I wasn't a sitting duck. That one hit it. Oh. Come on, harder. That's better.
That was a lot harder.
Yeah. Come on, big swing.
Yeah. I don't want to hit you any harder than that.
No, that's alright.
Yeah.
On again. That was better. Yeah. That's good. You cannot simply take any martial art and add Dim Mak to it. It will only work for you if you make the Dim Mak your main focus. What I mean by not adding it to another martial art is that, let's take your UFC fighter, for example. Now, the way that they train is for the ring. They're training themselves for the ring. I'm not saying they can't fight in the street. They'll take out the average bloke, they'll take out most people. You wouldn't want to fight a top UFC fighter in a street fight. However, they're training themselves for the best possible chance at winning in the ring, rather than the best possible chance at winning on the street. And they're two different things. Any fighting technique you use, any fighting method, way of moving, etc., it has to become part of your subconscious movement. So let's say you train your UFC sparring, the ring fighting, 6 days a week, where you're not striking to the neck, you're not striking to the eyes, etc. So all these points that are not allowed because of the rule sets in your competition fight, you're not practicing those strikes. So they're not becoming part of your subconscious reflexive movement. If you then take 1 day a week and practice your Dim Mak, so you're practicing your boxing, your kickboxing, your grappling and so on, and then 1 day a week you say, oh, I'll train my self-defense today, so I'm going to strike the neck and the eyes. You've done 6 times more of your competition fighting. So there's a much higher chance that that will remain as your muscle memory. That will remain your reflexive action. The only way you can make Dim Mak your reflexive action is to do that more than anything else. But if you fight in a ring competition situation and that is your training, then that is what you will do under a reflexive situation. And I've tested this time and time again, where I've had people come to my classes and they've been a competition stylist, martial artist of any style, whether it be boxing, kickboxing, whatever it is, and will come into a self-defense situation where, let's say for example, they're a small girl, but because she's used to scoring points and punching with gloves on, the best place to punch to this region with a glove on is to hit right on the tip of the chin, because it kinks the jaw and it kinks the neck. But without the glove on, you're better off hitting just in here to these very vulnerable points in the back of the jaw. But with the glove on, it spreads the power out, so you don't get the power to go in to the Dim Mak point. Without the glove on, the power will dig in and compress into a singular area and cause a knockout much more easily. So as a smaller person fighting a larger attacker, you're much better off attacking to a Dim Mak point, because it's more likely to work with less power. So it takes time and time and time for that person to actually train themselves out of the habit of punching to the stronger, safe areas that you can use in a competition fight. And again, I've had several people come to my classes, and I'll attack them in a self-defense situation. So I'm training them for self-defense. I'll attack them without them being ready for the attack, and every single time their punch ends up here, right on my chin. Or they'll push my head back, or something like this. They will not aim for the neck. Then I'll train them, and I'll say, okay, let's train punching to the neck. And I'll say, okay, they know what's going to come. They'll try to aim to my neck. I'll throw a punch, they'll block it, they'll punch me in the neck. We'll do this a few times, and they'll get comfortable with it. Okay, I'm punching to the neck. The next day they come back, and I attack them without them being ready for it again, and they punch me on the chin. Because they still have done more of punching to the chin than they have to punching to the throat. It takes a long time to change your reflexive action. So the longer you have practiced a sport martial art for, the longer it will take you to change your reflexive action to hit the neck. The internal arts of Taiji Chuan and Baguaijiang, which are the WTBA's main systems of the Earl Montaigue system, the Dim Mak is inherent from day one of your training. The first lesson you ever come to with myself or another WTBA instructor, assuming you're learning the martial side of the art and you're not just coming along to learn some basic health exercises, you will learn about Dim Mak. The first self-defense method you get is stick your fingers in his throat, or attack the eyes, attack stomach 9, attack the mind point, triple heater 17, and so on. You'll learn this from day one. So at no point in your training are you ever training your body to go for the safe areas. With reference to self-defense, let's say you're in a situation where your life is threatened. This means you're under pressure. So you can only use the methods that are in your subconscious reaction. So you want your subconscious reaction to be the most dangerous strikes possible in that situation to save your life. Better to put his life at risk than your life at risk. He's the one attacking you. However, in a situation where, let's say I might be down at the pub chatting with some friends, and some young guy comes up with a bit of an ego, maybe he knows I'm a martial artist and he wants to show off in front of his mates. I'm not going to use my Dim Mak on him, but I'm not threatened either, because I can see he's smaller than me. I've got my mates there anyway, so I've got backup. I'm not in a life or death situation, you see. So in that case I will use my conscious mind to try to diffuse the situation, firstly with communication, but secondly, if he does start swinging punches at me, I will block the punches and just punch him on the chin or punch him on the nose, because I don't want to kill the kid. He's just got an ego, he needs to learn, he needs to grow up, so I'm not going to try to hurt him and seriously injure the guy. But under a serious life or death situation, you can't fight like that. You cannot fight from a thought process. Whatever happens, whenever you move, your fingers have to go straight to the point that your subconscious reflexive action takes them to. And if that's the chin, you'll punch him in the chin. If that's the throat, you'll hit him in the throat. Guy twice your size coming through, if your first punch is to his chin, he's already got you on the ground. If your first strike is to the eyes, then you've pushed him back, you've stunned him, at least. Or to his throat, you've choked him out. Then you can come through with more heavy strikes afterwards. But your first instinctive action must be the Dim Mak point. Now, of course, this will hinder your ability to fight in a competition. Because in the competition fight, what's going to happen is, you've got to reverse that. Your subconscious reaction now is to strike to the throat, but you're not allowed to strike to the throat. So when he attacks, you're going to have to suffocate that natural reaction to strike him in the throat and change it to something that you're allowed to do. So if I was put in the ring, you see, I'd be able to do okay, but every time he attacked without warning, if I didn't see the attack coming, my instinctive action would be to strike his neck or strike his groin. So either I'd just lose points or get disqualified, or I would have to trap my instinctive reaction and then think about, oh no, I'll hit him on the chin. You see? That's going to make me a lot slower. So the person who has trained their subconscious reaction to be the points you're allowed, or the strikes you're allowed to do based on the rules, is of course going to have the upper hand. So you can't be the world champion fighter and the best possible thing you can be for self-defense. Chinese approach to Dim Mak, the Eastern view, is that of the energy systems in the body. The qi disruption that happens when you strike certain points in the body. Now, a lot of people are skeptical as to whether qi even exists, even though it has actually been proven now that qi exists. But I'm not going to even talk about that, because if you're skeptical that qi exists, well, that's fine. That's a whole nother story. We're talking about Dim Mak here. The Dim Mak works regardless of the qi disruption that is happening in the body. The Chinese philosophy would say, okay, when I strike this point, I'm disrupting the energy, I'm pushing it back against the flow, etc. Whereas there's the Western view, which striking the same point has much the same effect on the body, but for example through the nerve system in the body, or through the physical weak structure in the body, depending on where you're striking to. So you might hit a strike on the arm, which in Chinese view would say you're striking to pericardium 6. That's a pericardium point, so that's going to drain energy from the heart. Therefore, when we strike stomach 9, which is also a point that affects the heart, that's going to be a good setup point for stomach 9. But then there's the Western view on the concept, and there are certain nerve endings in the wrist, and those nerves feed up the arm and into the vagus nerve, which also connects to the carotid artery and the carotid sinus, which affects the heart. So you have the Western view and the Eastern view, and they both make sense, they both work. But because people are skeptical over the Eastern view and the qi side of Dim Mak, I'm going to be focusing these lessons on only the Western view. Now please be aware that all of the points and training methods covered in these lessons are only to be used in a life or death situation. They are not for playing around with, they are not for competition. Do not try them on your friends. They are very dangerous, they are proven to be dangerous. Ask any doctor and they'll tell you, don't hit someone there, it's a terribly dangerous point. You train the point, but pull it short of the real point. That's what Dim Mak is about. It's not about fighting for points, winning trophies. Dim Mak is about saving your life and protecting your family. You need to know actually how to fight. You need to know how to strike from a short range with massive power. You must train your accuracy, you must train your defense, you must know how to fight to apply Dim Mak. Well, hello and welcome. My name is Leigh Montaigue and I am head of the World Taiji Boxing Association.
I'm Leigh Evans, and not only have I trained with the World Taiji Boxing Association for somewhere from 27 to 30 years, somewhere around there. I'm an emergency nurse, paramedic. I've got nearly 20 years of emergency experience working in emergency trauma and in emergency departments all over the world, but predominantly in Britain in larger emergency departments in inner city London, Manchester, Birmingham and Cardiff.
Okay, and together what we're going to be doing on these series of videos is simply giving the Western view on Dim Mak. Dim Mak is not magic. All we're looking at with Dim Mak is striking to the weakest physiological points on the human body. When we say Dim Mak, it means death point striking. People have seen that and they say, oh, what, you can't just touch someone and they die? Because of these charlatans all over the world teaching Dim Mak, where they'll say, okay, you attack, and they go, and they pass out and they fall to the ground. This is not real. However, there is truth behind Dim Mak. Dim Mak, when we say it's a death point striking, it doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to kill him with one strike. What we mean by that is it simply means that Dim Mak, death point striking, we're striking to the most likely points that will cause death. So they're the most dangerous points to strike. With my father's videos and teachings over the years of Earl Montaigue, with these, anyone who has actually looked into these in depth, you will see that every single point in Dim Mak correlates to a weak structural point on the body. So, I hope that you'll enjoy these videos and get something out of them. If you enjoy what you're seeing, you can of course come to our website, which we're listed on the video clip, and have a look for further information regarding our system and the Dim Mak art that we practice. Thank you.